Solving equations starts to get tricky as soon as we throw fractions into the mix. So you can see I have two equations up here. Well, actually I have one equation. It's the exact same thing twice. So I'm going to go through both ways that we've talked about doing this in class. The first is just to actually work with the fractions that we see. We have x plus 1/3 equals -2. So we're going to undo that plus 1/3 by subtracting 1/3. We're going to subtract 1/3 from both sides. 1/3 minus 1/3 cancels, so we do have x equals, but now we have to deal with this -2 minus 1/3. I'll go ahead and do that work down here a little bit. If you have -2 and you're subtracting a fraction, you have to work with the fractions and get a common denominator. So we'll put a 1 underneath the 2, and to get that common denominator, let's go ahead and multiply this by a 3 and this by a 3, and that will get us that 3 in the denominator. So really we're looking at -6/3 minus 1/3. And when we subtract fractions, you keep your denominator the same, and you just go ahead and subtract the numerator. So -6 minus 1 is a -7. So our answer for x will be a -7/3. So we had to get the common denominator with the fraction. That is one way that you can approach this problem. The second way that we have talked about has us actually, from the start, do one step that will get rid of the fractions, and then you don't have to do all the common denominator stuff. So what we do is we take the entire equation, we're going to multiply by one number. And the number we're going to multiply is you look at the equation, you look for any denominators. Because this is just a 3, we're going to multiply every single term by a 3. And I'll go ahead and make that a 3/1, just so that it makes sense when we get to the fraction. So every single term, 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1/3. Here's why we picked to multiply by a 3. If we do 3/1 times 1/3, well, if you multiply straight across, you get 3/3, which is 1. Or this denominator is going to go into that number that we multiplied by, because that's why we picked the 3. So it does leave us with just a 1. And then make sure you multiply to that last term. 3 times -2 is -6. And now it just looks like a regular equation. Undo any addition or subtraction first. So we subtract 1. 3x equals a -7. And then to undo the multiplying by 3, we will divide by 3. And x equals, there's that -7/3 that we got the other way. So I think that people tend to prefer one way over the other. It does not matter to me which way you do it as long as you are getting correct answers. So just make sure you're really good at one of these methods.